Hello guys, Fro here. Welcome to the channel, Tech with Fro. Today we're going to talk about three of my favorite topics to talk about on this channel. And we're going to see how all of those come together in such a sleek and amazing way. It's going to be a longer presentation and I'm going to break down every step of it. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to look at Snowflake, which is a very highly capable data platform born in the cloud, helping companies store data, compute massive data in a very cost-effective fashion. We're going to look at OpenAI GPT-3, which is a very powerful AI model built by the OpenAI team, and I have access to that. And then we're going to look at the very unique capability of Snowflake, which is external functions. So it allows it extends Snowflake beyond the capabilities of it. So what we're going to accomplish today is from within Snowflake, can you reach out to a very capable service like OpenAI and bring that into your platform so you can have access to the power of OpenAI right from within Snowflake? Now, that was something that was so exciting to me. I put together this demo or this walkthrough to help you with the resources. If you're gonna get access to, or if you want to try something like this, you should be able to do that end to end. So that said, a couple of things that we're gonna leverage. Number one is, of course, you're gonna need to have a Snowflake platform. In here, I do have my trial Snowflake account. So if you have a Snowflake platform, we're gonna need that for sure. The second thing that we're going to need is you're going to have to understand OpenAI. If you're not familiar with OpenAI, I've made lots and lots of videos about OpenAI. They have, it allows you to basically have access to this language model trained with almost 80 billion parameters, and it gives you almost human-like conversational skills. And so OpenAI is very, very, very powerful. You can do natural language translation. You can do so many things with OpenAI on their platform. If you go into the playground, I don't want to demo this. Check out OpenAI. It should be very apparent to you what it does. What you're going to need from OpenAI is you have an account. Not everybody does. And if you have an account, you're going to need your API key. In another video, I went through a very simple Python script, where if you have your OpenAI key, you can interface with OpenAI using Python. So I'm going to assume that you can do this and you've done this already. So what I did in this case was I took this Python code. It's a very trivial Python code that can interact with OpenAI, and I put that in a wrapper. I created an API around that with Flask. The code is going to be on my GitHub somewhere, but something really easy to do if you want to do that. So basically, you're going to call the endpoint that I created, and that endpoint is going to reach out to OpenAI and get your results. So that's one of the things that we did. If you need the code around that, I can put that in my GitHub for access. But assuming that you have that endpoint, the next thing that we're going to need is understanding Snowflake and external functions. So Snowflake has this ability where you can write SQL in Snowflake. But what if you have logic? And this is a good case for us that sits outside of Snowflake, like OpenAI, a very powerful language model. And you want to reach out to OpenAI and ask questions and do translations, natural language translations, or code passing. External functions is what is going to help us here. But setting up an external function in Snowflake is a little bit involved. So you're going to have to come in here and I'm looking at the documentation. For let's say you're working with AWS, you're going to have to follow the documentation, set it up. There's going to be setting up the endpoints. There's going to be creating Lambda, getting keys, IAM roles, and there's just some things that you might have to do. But lucky for you, there is this project. This is completely open source. Check it out. Again, I'm going to leave a link to this in the description. If I don't, make sure you put that in the comment and I'll make sure to leave that link. It's called Star Schema. That's the company. They have this product called StarSnow. It's open source. Anyone can use it. And what StarSnow does is it allows you to invoke REST APIs from within Snowflake. So this is really, really, really cool, right? So we're going to talk about StarSnow, and then we're going to see how to tie it into OpenAI. So there are really two things here. Number one, we're going to set up StarSnow. That will be the first thing. Once we set up StarSnow, then we can use StarSnow to talk to the API that we have that's going to reach out to GPT-3. So going to be a very fascinating one. So to set up StarSnow, this is so easy. I couldn't even believe it. So just read this documentation. I think the team has, Tamas Fordy has done an amazing job here setting this up. Very straightforward. All we need to do, if you have a Snowflake account, to set up StarSnow, again, read the documentation. But what you're going to have to do is come in here, just do npm install. If you're on Linux, right, do npm install. That's all we need. So you're going to install that. Go to this directory, clone this directory from Git. So just go ahead and run this. I ran that already. And then what you're going to have to do is change into that directory and then run npm install. You're also going to want to make sure you have your environment variables set. So once you've installed this, you've run this command, you've done npm install, you should end up with something that looks like this. You should have a folder on your desktop or somewhere on your file system that looks like this. Now, in this folder, you really don't have to change anything, right? The very first one is this YAML file. If you open that up, the YAML file is, let's go to another screen here. Go to a different screen. Let's bring the YAML file, what it looks like. So your YAML file really looks like this. And inside of the YAML file is looking at StarSnow. It's asking for your role and your account, username, password. So this is going to be what authenticates into your Snowflake account. And it's pulling this from the environment variables. So you want to export those into your environment variables in Linux. Very easy to do that, right? You can do print env to see if you've exported those. Of course, I'm not going to show mine on the screen. So let's go back here. Once you've done this, you've set up your environment variables. All we need to do is to run a command that says serverlessdeploy. And what this project is going to do, what this package is going to do, is it will take your configurations, it's going to go out, upload that into because it's going to require your AWS configuration as well. It would upload that to AWS. It will create a Lambda. It will create your API gateways. It's going to connect it to Snowflake. It's going to create external functions for you. It literally does, it almost does it all. The only thing it probably doesn't do is pay your bills, right? That's probably what is missing here. But apart from that, it makes it so easy for us to get up and running. So let's go here, and I'm going to run, I think I haven't done this just yet. Let's go ahead and run serverlessdeploy. But before I run that, I want to call out that in my Snowflake account, one of the things you have to notice is I don't have any external functions just yet. I don't have any API gateways. If I try to run a function, for example, this one, it wouldn't work, right? So if I try to, let's bring this command here. If I try to run a command like this, it doesn't work. It tells us unknown function because that function doesn't exist. And the reason why I'm showing this is for you to see that we're doing this live. So let's go back, and I'm going to do serverlessdeploy. Serverless is a very popular framework these days. And what it should do is it should take, and I'm doing it in my StarSnow folder. So just follow those instructions, and this should deploy all those packages to AWS. Is going to create some Lambdas for me. It's going to create the API gateways, connect everything, create my external functions in Snowflake, and link them to that API gateway. It literally just does everything for you using the CloudFormation template. So you can see the binaries uploading to Snowflake, sorry, to S3. And in a short time, we should have everything going. And if you go over to S3 here, or to AWS, Lambda, I did this a little bit already, but that was 35 minutes ago. But this should be getting refreshed here, right? We should create a new Lambda here. And then it's also going to create the API gateways for us. So if you go into this Lambda, it's creating all of that for me. If I go into the API gateway, it's deployed an API gateway for me. So it's done almost everything that is just, it's just amazing for us. So let's give it a few minutes for that to finish, and then we'll kick it off from there. All right, so it didn't take too long. Literally 2 seconds after I paused the video, it was complete. What we see here, if you read this, it's deployed the endpoints for me. It's created the API functions in Snowflake, and it's created some external functions, one called StarSnow, one called StarSnow request get, right? So we have all of that now in Snowflake ready for us to use. You can do this manually, but imagine just clicking a button and it does it automatically for you. That's the beauty of StarSnow. If you want to check it out, I think it's an amazing project from Star Schema. So if we refresh this, you see this was updated just a minute ago. Now, if I go back into Snowflake, and there should be a function now called star request get, right? And this function allows you to invoke any REST API from within Snowflake. And that's the beauty about this. So any REST API that you have from within Snowflake, you can call it. If this isn't amazing, I don't know what is. So let's go here, and I'm just gonna hit Google, right? I'm just gonna do a get request from Google and see what we get back. So if I run this, it says unknown functions. I just have to make sure I'm in the right locations. Just bear with me to verify that I'm in the right location here. All right, guys. So I think what we needed to do was making sure that we are in the right context. That's all we have to do, because it deploys those functions into the specific schema. So in this case, I'm going into DemoDB. That's where I was deployed. If you want to really check that, what you can do is go over to Snowside, which is a newer UI. I think that should make it really clear. So just click on Snowside. It should bring you to this newer UI. And then what we're going to do here is just log in as through. And let's authenticate into this. And that's where you really get to see, let's go to data, DemoDB, let's find public, and then you can see functions. And let's go into tables, pipes, and views. So you can check to see, am I in the right permission? Let's switch over to account admin. And there you go. So you can see now, these are the two functions that have been deployed here, right? On the legacy UI, you maybe could not see that, but on the new UI, it gives you the ability to see the function. So we have a function here called StarSnow request, and we have another function called StarSnow request get, right? And this get function is what's going to reach out to the API gateway, and any REST request we get is going to be pushed over there. So going back to this example, making sure we're using the right role, right schema, right warehouse, I can write a command to say, hey, get HTTPS, very similar to what you do from your browser from google.com. And if I run that command, I get the web page here. Of course, this is not very useful, just getting the full web page back. But you can imagine any REST API that you have, as long as you have the ability to pass that JSON coming back or the XML coming back, you can basically authenticate and access data from any API. So let's try another example here. I do have a couple of examples. One of the ones that I really like is being able to go out and to check the status of the Snowflake account to make sure is Snowflake up and running. So here we're going to do a star request. We're going to go to this endpoint, which is the status, the snowflake.com API. And we're going to check, is Snowflake up? Is everything running? And let's just go ahead and run that. And just like that, any endpoint, every system is operational. And if you don't believe it, just go ahead and check this from the browser, and you will see what is actually going on, right? So this is the JSON coming back. We're hitting the endpoint, bringing this JSON into Snowflake, passing that all out, and then we can integrate this into our operational pipelines. So really, really exciting. Now, this is part one of the presentation. What is part two? What does part two look like? Well, remember we talked about OpenAI GPT-3, and this is a very powerful language model. I really love this language model. I wrote that API endpoint in Flask, and I deployed it. I'm not going to go through that. I think that could be its own presentation, how to deploy Flask. Check on my channel somewhere. There should be a demo around that. But basically, what we ended up with is an API endpoint that you can call, and it's going to give you results. So, for example, let's take this example here, and I'm going to bring that into this worksheet. Just bear with me. Let's bring this into this worksheet. So I have that deployed to Frulytics app. It's just on Heroku, and it has this endpoint called search, and the endpoint takes a parameter, right? And of course, you want to authenticate as well. It's going to do a get, and it's going to take a parameter. And so from here, I can query. Let's zoom in here because this is so exciting. All right, so my API that I wrote is sitting on this app. So think about it as a little microservice. It's a controller. Request coming to the microservice from behind the scenes. I'm taking that, reaching to open API, I get the result, and I bring it back. And now we can access that result in Snowflake. So let's take, for example, here, any question that you can ask for GPT-3. So what is the population of Algeria? If you take that question, that's what I want to ask. If I go in here and I say, hey, what's the population of Algeria? Let's try that, what it looks like in using the playground in GPT-3 here. So what's the population of Algeria? Let's run that. GPT-3 is gonna give us an answer, 36 million or so. All right. And maybe we should use a different module. Let's use the DaVinci Instruct Beta. All right, let's use that. I think that's a better model that I like to use. So what's the population of Algeria? It should just give us the answer, 31 million, about 31 million. All right, so let's go back and see how we're going to do the same thing here. Let's bring the screen down. How we're going to do the same thing from within Snowflake. So in Snowflake, you have the ability to query the entire GPT-3. Guys, this is amazing. So let's see if what we get. So I'm going to my endpoint. Let's run this. Should take a few seconds, and it should give us back hopefully a result that is reasonable. So it's hitting my endpoint, and then my endpoint will query OpenAI, and the results will come back, hopefully in a JSON format. And then we can even ask more interesting questions about this. It's taking a few seconds here to run. Oh, there you go. And now we have an answer. 29 million. Is that exactly correct? I'm not sure, but that's what GPT-3 is telling us. All right. So let's try something. I usually just do this for fun. What advice would you give to someone who wants to learn programming? Any question that you can ask, guys. Snowflake now becomes your Q&A playground. So there you go. I would recommend learning. I would recommend learning Python. It's a great language to learn programming with, and it's used in many different fields. Oh goodness, that's pretty cool. So should I learn Python or Java to be a data scientist? Let's see what GPT-3 says. Right. So this is the language model, the natural language model coming. So quick, you can see the speed less than 1.3 seconds. Python is a popular language for data scientists. Guys, that's pretty cool. And we don't have to keep it at trivia stuff like this. Of course, you have your own data set in your organization. So let's take an example of something that we can do here as well. So what I'm going to do is you can take data that you have and then bounce that against OpenAI. So for example, let me bring this piece of code here. Again, very simple. I'm just giving you guys ABC types of scenarios, and I'm sure your imagination can definitely get more creative than this. So Snowflake has the sample data, which is available in this database, the TPCH data set, which is a test, right? And it does have customer information. If you can take a look at this, it has customer information and it has nations information, right? So in here, there is a bunch of nations, Algeria, Argentina, all the way. So many of the different nations that are out there are available in this data set. All right, it's a very representative, popular data set. So what I'm going to do is, can I look through the list of nations that we have and then bounce that against GPT-3 to get results of their population so we can store that into our database, right? So you have lots of data set. You could be doing medical translation. You could be doing encoding. You could be curious about some particular question with data that you have on your system, right? Can you take that, bounce it against GPT-3 at scale using the power of Snowflake and then bring the results back into your platform using SQL? We're not writing crazy coding here. This is, if you can do SQL, for the most part, you can do something like this. All right. So here we're going to go to the endpoint and I'm going to go from sample data. Actually, we should call this sample, let's call this Snowflake sample data, and we're gonna go for this. And what we're gonna do here is we'll say what is the population of, and then we're gonna pass name, right? So we know there is a name variable here, so we're gonna pass name, so n name. So now we're kind of building the string, and then this becomes our query that goes to GPT-3. Got it? Pretty cool. So let's just run this for the first 10 countries, and we see we're gonna hopefully get the population of, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. All right, why do we have to do it at 10 countries? Let's just do everything, right? We've got the power. Snowflake has the power. GPT-3 is capable. If we bring the two amazing platforms, there you have it. We should be able to go across it. Right now we can, if we need to scale out our Snowflake compute from an extra small to an extra large to crunch through all of this, you can do it. It's so elastic. It's so cost effective. You should be able to do it. So now this is going to bounce against GPT-3, and hopefully in no time we can see what GPT-3 has to tell us. So it takes a few seconds here, and we should get the results back. All right, so we came back. For some reason, I think I got a lot of nulls. I'm not exactly sure why. Do we have to maybe add another pipe here and add a question mark? Would that help? Let's limit this again to limit to 15. So let's just put the limit there. Try this one more time and see what we get. There you go. So we have the answers: Iran, Iraq, Japan, Kenya. All right, so pretty good. Then we can say, hey, who is the president of? Who is the president of this country? So we can take a look, and we're doing all this knowledge discovery right from Snowflake, just using the power of GPT-3. So who is the president of? And then we're gonna replace the name of the country on a question mark. All right, so president of Algeria is Abdelaziz. Argentina, and this might be a little bit old, so the model, depending on when the model was trained, the answers might be a little bit dated, so just be cautious about that. Something to note. Iraq is Fuad Massan, King Abdullah III. Kenya is Uhuru Kenyatta. France is Emmanuel Macron. Pretty interesting. All right, so let's say write a summary about let's say write a short paragraph about, and then we put in the country, and then let's put full stop. I don't know what this will give me, but I just like having fun with this, as you can tell. Let's see, write a short paragraph about that. So for each of those countries, we should get a very short paragraph about it, and hopefully it comes up with a good result. Who knows? I think the sky here is really the limit. It's taking longer. Maybe we reduce that to 5. I'm guessing when you're trying to get it to write a paragraph, it takes a little bit longer. All right, let's kill this for now. Let's try it with 5 just to see. I just want to prove to you guys that this is all happening live, and it's pretty cool. So at this point, we're trying to write a short paragraph. All right, there you have it. So really exciting stuff. A lot of things that we can do here with OpenAI GPT-3. We can check the status. We can ask questions. We can write essays. We can interact with all of that right from within Snowflake, having access to one of the most powerful language model there is out there, which is GPT-3. And it doesn't have to just be GPT-3. In your use case, you have vendors, you have customers, you have suppliers, you have providers. That all have REST APIs that have data, that have machine learning models sitting behind them. can you expose and externalize all of that into your Snowflake platform? Bring that logic into Snowflake so your data teams can have access to it, right? This might be a scoring model where you're taking your customer information and you do running that against a machine learning model to get a prediction if that should be a customer you keep or if the customer is going to churn. All of those models can now come into Snowflake and becomes easy for you to access using a combination, and just to recap here, of Snowflake external functions, as well as a project called StarSnow that you can set up to make building external functions super easy, extremely easy in Snowflake. There are examples here of being able to get stock information right from within Snowflake if you have the right API keys. There are examples of being able to check for the status, which we've seen here. So many examples. The sky really is the limit. Now, question to you, what going through this demo is, what can you do with this? What are the use cases that you have? What is the problem that you have currently on Snowflake as you're working with the platform that you can solve if you extend and reach out beyond the four walls of your platform to get access to more logic, to get access to more data using REST API? This hopefully is a demo that has helped you, given you some pointers. I'm going to leave a link to all of these projects below. Of course, I'm not going to have a link to my API. This is just a demo API. You can basically create your own if you need help creating an API. With Flask, I can make a demo around that, or a video, super easy, something that's very popular these days. So check it all out. Again, thanks for watching. This has been Fru, Tech with Fru. You have been very awesome. I have been Fru. I will see you in the next video.